Ooh, nice, beautiful. So, the aroma that's coming out, spectacular. Once you've done this, you cooked it for 3 to 4 minutes on one side, 3 to 4 minutes on the other side. You take the steaks out, you put them on a nice dish. Now these steaks are not finished, remember that. I'm just showing you and you cover them up with foil. Next thing that we're going to do is I like to discard the extra oil. I'll do it right here. Get rid of the extra oil. And the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to put some butter in the pan. And here we go with the making of the sauce. In addition to the butter, we are going to put the other ingredients. The shallots, the garlic, and parsley. Cook this for a few minutes until they nicely soften up. We want the shallots to really soften up. Once the shallots have softened up, the garlic has started to brown, we add our wine. On high heat, reduce the wine by half. Once the wine is reduced by half, we add our stock. And then we simmer inside the sauce the marrow. Now remember, I've seen it done in several ways. This is the way that I like to do it. But another way to do it is to add the marrow at the beginning and to saute the marrow together with the other ingredients. It gets a nice browning, and it actually has the marrow softening up and melting inside the pan. What does it look like once we are done with it? People say, Stellino, you always show what to start with, but what is the finished presentation looking like? Follow me. Look at the sauce here the way it is. This is the sauce before it's completely reduced, and I'm going to show you the sauce once that's completely reduced. Hold on just a second. I'm going to add a little trick that I like to do. Here it is. Look at the sauce once it's completely reduced right in here. Isn't that wonderful? Now, the sauce is not finished yet. What we're going to do to this sauce, we are going to thicken it up. So let me put it on the high heat. While the sauce is almost ready to go, I want to serve the steaks. And I'm going to take the steaks that I prepared before. It's a wonderful one. She's ready to go. We have to thicken up the sauce. People panic at this point. Says, how am I going to thicken up the sauce? What am I going to do to thicken up the sauce? What you want to do is the mixture of the butter and the flour that I showed you before. That's exactly the way in which we are going to thicken up the sauce. Now, remember this. Even though I give you the measures, when you're at home and you cook it, you want to always pay a little bit of attention because you may like it thicker than what I tell you, or you may like it less thick. And I'm not speaking about the sauce. So always realize the first time around, do it the way that I showed you. But when you do it for yourself, realize, is this the consistency that you want? You want to make it more? You want to make it less? In the kitchen, you're free. No matter if it's my recipe or somebody else's recipe. Like I like to say, when it comes to cooking, rock and roll. Hey. So this is the amount that I want to put in. Oops. Let me use my trusty spoon. Now remember, this is going to thicken up the sauce and give it a wonderful gloss. Look at the color. Now what I love about this is the color the sauce is picking up. Spectacular. Like it a little bit thicker than that, you see, even I. The aroma, the smell, the flavor that's coming out. Ooh, the look of it. Look. It's already picking up a nice gloss. It's spectacular. And we're ready to serve it right now. So here we go to our dish. Guarda che bellezza. What I like to do is to serve it like this. You bring this to the table, you have people singing in Italian, in French, it doesn't matter, they'll be singing. The passion that this dish exudes, and the sauce is such a powerful flavor. What I like to do before I complete this, add a little bit of green bits, like a good friend of mine says. John always says, Nick, put some of them green bits on top of it. He's a New Zealander, great friend of mine, wonderful character. And this is it. Something that you always order at your restaurant, always been afraid of. Hey, afraid of what? It's so simple to make. Now, stay tuned, because I'm going to show you to make another wonderful recipe that forever will stay in the treasure of your recipes. And now, another masterpiece from France. Oui. See, I'm going to show you today how to make lemon soufflé. Why soufflé? I'll tell you, because many people get totally scared by soufflé. You tell them, you're going to make soufflé tonight? You get the stare blank in the face, like it's the most difficult thing. Soufflé, the only difficulty about soufflé is that you cannot make it a day ahead. As a matter of fact, soufflé is the only dessert that I know of that you must make and present at the same time. So this is a very difficult thing, even for me. But you know what? We're going to go through this one together. And if something goes wrong, we'll improvise together. So why don't we look at the ingredients, and I'll walk you step by step on how to make this wonderful recipe. Are you ready? Snap into action. This is what we need. For the lemon souffle, we need a half a cup or half and half milk, 3 tablespoons of flour, a quarter cup of fresh lemon juice, 2 teaspoons of grated lemon zest, a half a cup of sugar, 6 egg whites, room temperature, it's important, a pinch of salt, 4 egg yolks, a half a teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 tablespoon of powdered sugar. The oven, by the way, is preheated at 400 degrees. That's about 200 degrees Celsius. And let me get this out at the beginning because I'm going to get involved and I don't want to miss on the information. Once we make the mixture of the souffle, we're going to cook it at this temperature that I just mentioned, at 400 degrees, for 10 minutes. Then we reduce the temperature to 350, that's 180 Celsius degrees. And then we continue cooking it for 20 minutes. Now, how does the souffle work? The souffle mixture, once inside the bowl that we chose it, will rise up. However, if it sticks to the walls, what happens then? We have a problem. The problem is that the souffle will not rise. So the first and most important step, let's look at it together. Right here it is. Look inside this bowl. I've greased this bowl with butter and then I coated it with sugar. So that once we put the mixture in there, the mixture will be able to rise because it will not be attached to the wall of the vessel. Vessel, I love that word. Something else. In my book, on my recipe, I tell you to use a 6-cup container. In this case, I've used an 8-cup container. Now, this is my personal choice, but I want to tell you the difference that you will see at home when you do it with a 6-cup container. When you do it with a 6-cup container, which is quite a bit smaller than this, the souffle rises and rises over the edge of the container, so you get a big poof on top of it. When you use instead the 8-cup, what happens is that it will rise, but it will not be spilling over. So this is the significant difference that you will see. Why do it one way versus the other? When I do it this way, it's easier for me to dip into it, don't see any problems going beside. And beside, if it flops down, it still stays within. It allows me to cheat more freely. There, I confess. So if something goes wrong, I can always say the magic word. I meant to do that. But let's move on with the other part of the recipe. And here we are. In this bowl, we add the half and half milk, the flour, and then you want to stir it until it makes a uniform mixture. That's exactly what you want to do. Let me move this aside because I was moving a bit too fast. Then we add the sugar and the lemon juice and the zest. Now you have to stir this, and it will take you a good 5 minutes to do this. In 5 minutes, stirring consistently, you will do a series of things. First of all, you will develop some incredible muscles, just like me. And then you will get a nice, glossy, yellowish mixture. You know what, it's always terrible. I remember when I was listening to people trying to teach me recipe, and they tell me what it's going to look like afterwards. I say, yeah, what am I supposed to look for when I do it at home? So this whole routine will last you for about 5 minutes. Once you're done, let me show you exactly what the mixture will look like. Concentrate on the color and on the glossiness of this because it's beautiful. Here we are. Isn't it beautiful? Look at it. Nice, yellow. And by the way, I let it cool off a little bit. You do not want to have it hot immediately right away. Let it cool off because the next addition that we're going to make is the addition of the egg yolks and the addition of the vanilla. At this point, this is my favorite tool, a nice spatula. Ah, look. Now, a lot of people get discouraged at this point. They see the eggs break and they go, oh my gosh, they're going all over the place. Just incorporate it. Chase them around, go, get over here. Stay here, don't move about. You can do the double 8, the single 8, the triple 8, the 16 figure. The important part is whatever technique you use, that you incorporate it really nicely. Now, pay attention to this. Our mixture has gotten a lot more yellow, but also is a lot looser. And if we just were to put this in there, we'd make a wonderful frittata. But this is not what we are about to make. The thing that we're about to make is a souffle. So let's think about it. What does it take for a souffle to rise up? It's the egg whites. At the beginning of the show, oh, by the way, while I'm talking, I'm going to add a little bit of the vanilla. At the beginning of the show, I told you that this is not a dessert that you can make ahead of time, that you must prepare at the moment. Up to this point, you can do ahead of time. So let's say you have a wonderful dinner, you want to make a souffle, the souffle that I'm showing you, you make all this step ahead of time. Don't even beat the egg whites yet. Don't. You serve people their last entree, you clear the pot. It says, I have to go in the back and I have to do a souffle. And tell them, it's going to be a little while, so we'll have some coffee, we'll sit down, we'll be friendly, and then at the end of the coronation of this dinner, I'll have a souffle. And it will take you about 30 minutes after that to do it. All that you want to do is to have this ready, then to beat the egg whites to a nice consistency. And this is the consistency that you want to have. Look at this. Nice and creamy, almost meringue-like, until they form stiff peaks. At this point, once you've beaten the egg whites, you mix it with the mixture. And you do it a little bit at a time. And here's what I like to do. When you mix the egg whites, the one thing that you want to do is from underneath and up. And you want to incorporate with a lot of patience. You don't want to beat them in because the egg whites are what are going to give you the body to the souffle. They're going to give you the air. They're the building blocks that allows the souffle to have the wonderful texture that it has. Here we go with the others. Now, at this point, look, from the bottom on top, from the bottom on top. That. Top, all right. And you see the technique that I use, I've shown you many times. I move it, I give myself grip on the bowl, and I love using this thing. It really gives me total control of it. Now, you know that the mixture is being completely mixed well, but you don't see any more trace of the egg whites. Oh, here we are. Ooh, Then, this is it. We are ready. Let's put it inside the dish. Now let me pass on to you a couple of little tricks that I've seen done by real master chefs. Number one is to bang it down a little bit like this. Two is, if you use a much smaller bowl than this, what you may want to do, and this is people that really like to get a wonderful presentation. They like that the souffle that almost explodes out. Instead of using a 6-cup container, use a 4-cup container and build with some wonderful baking paper a nice ridge on the outside. This ridge on the outside, you will close it, make it a nice ridge, almost as if my hands were together. You can close it even with staples. And you put it in the oven. What happens, you build an imaginary wall. And as the souffle grows high and tall past it, when you take it out, you make sure also that you coat it with sugar and with butter so that the souffle doesn't stick to it. It opens up, and you have this big top. Also remember, the souffle doesn't stay up forever. And the souffle will cause you aggravation, which means that as you open the oven, it could flop down. You bring it to your guest, it flops down. Sometimes it doesn't puff up as big as it is. But you know one thing that you should not get hangover is the fact that the souffle, here it is. It's the fact that the souffle doesn't matter what it looks like. And no, it's what it tastes like. And this one is going to be spectacular. Guarda qua. Ooh la la, this is wonderful. Bellissimo, I tell you. Guardate. This is my souffle. This time, I was lucky. It came out perfect. But remember, when it comes to souffle, and when it comes to life, it doesn't matter what it looks like. It's the substance of a person that counts. In this case, the souffle's got the looks, and it's got the substance. After all, I cooked it. Remember this line next time you prepare it. Have fun in the kitchen. From my heart to your kitchen. Arrivederci. Next time you make a roast or your favorite steak, just like I showed you, I want to also give you a recipe on how to cook onions in balsamic vinegar, a wonderful accompaniment. Let's look at the recipe first, and then I'll tell you step by step on how to do it. You ready? Snap into action. What we need for baked onions is 4 sweet onions, a 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/8 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of butter. The oven is preheated at 400 degrees, that's 200 degrees Celsius, and here is what we got. The onions. So Stellino, what kind of cooking is this? Onions, watch this. Take the balsamic vinegar and I put it at the bottom. The next thing we do is take the butter and put the butter on top of each one of the onions, just like this. Stay in here, you rascal. This is going to be a very complicated recipe, so pay attention because it's very difficult. Then we do this, a little bit with the rest of it, and then we put it in the oven. We put it for 1 hour covered with foil, and then we take the foil off and we continue cooking it for 30 minutes. What does it look like? Let me show you. This is what we started with. Now here comes the beauty. Look at these guys. Watch this. Look at the juices they let go. Look at the color that they have. Aren't they absolutely wonderful? This, you bring it, they have a flavor, it's explosive. It's absolutely explosive. And this is it. This is how to make a very complicated recipe. Everything at Cucina Amore is easy to do. And you should do it at home. I mean, let's look at the dinner that we prepare for ourselves. You know, I always tell you about dinners, but when it comes to romance, this is what you want to make. Just imagine, we start out with this wonderful steak in red wine sauce with marrow in it. Ooh, already, what a wonderful opening. A wonderful glass of Cabernet Sauvignon, and then move on to dessert. And look at our wonderful dessert. There it is, our souffle. People say, but look at the souffle, it's not popping out. It's because I use a bigger vessel than I was supposed to. And why did I do that? For several reasons. First, because it's easier to cheat this way. It will never spill over. And second, because it's like a bowl. I get to eat right off of it. What, I should start with a steak? I know I should start with a steak. I even have my wonderful glass of wine here. Oh, by the way, talking about wine, Cabernet Sauvignon or Cabernet Franc, two wonderful wines to have. When it comes to wine, like anything else, choose your favorite glass of wine. This is mine. You know, even white wine is good to go with steak. Don't be stuck by these things that you must only have. You know, for any food, choose the wine that you like best. But listen to advice of people, because somebody can really turn you on to a wonderful wine that you didn't know about, that you didn't know existed. And that's how I personally discovered some of the best wines to this day I have in my cellar at home. Hey, now enough said about wine, because yes, I'm going right into the souffle. You think I worked this hard for nothing? One of the wonderful things about being a chef on TV is that you get to do this. Ciao.
Welcome to Great Chefs, a culinary tour of the United States featuring some of the country's finest chefs.
This time, an appetizer is prepared by Philippe Boulot in Portland, Oregon. The bounty of the Northwest permeates his Dungeness crab roll with carrot salad and vegetable essences. The entree comes from Chef Ann Kearney's Peristyle restaurant in New Orleans. It's pan-seared squab with what Louisianians call dirty rice dressing. Note her savory port wine sauce. Finally, from the Chicago area, Chef Michael Maddox offers a dessert of almond cookies and passion fruit custard. He also demonstrates technique for a garnish of spun sugar. Philippe Boulot, executive chef at the Heathman Hotel in Portland, was born in Normandy and worked his way through several Michelin star restaurants in France before coming to the U.S. At the Mark Hotel in New York, he earned Esquire's Best Restaurant of the Year in 1989. Here's his Dungeness crab roll. The chef begins by juicing carrots. You can probably buy carrot juice at a health food store.
Once I have the carrot juice, like that, I reduce it down to a syrup. While it's reduced, I'm going to do the beet oil. So when the juice is reduced, you have like a syrup of beets, like that. And the way we do it, it's blend it with some olive oil.
The method for obtaining the beet essence is also used for a carrot vinaigrette and parsley essence.
The main part of this crab roll is a crab remoulade, Dungeness crab meat, really fresh. We are going to add a mayonnaise made out of mustard, egg yolk, and olive oil, some grated lemon skin, and some basil and parsley.
The crab rolls are built on dampened sheets of rice paper rounds.
And the way we're going to build this thing is like put a little bit of mint leaf, shiitake mushroom, celery leaves, crab remoulade. You build it like that at the bottom of the sheet and you can roll it. Make sure it's really tight. Fold up the side. Fold up the side like that and keep rolling it. I like the rice sheet when they are really crispy, so one layer for me is not enough to give me the crispiness, so I double it. Same process. Roll it like that. Fold the side. And here we have a crab roll. This crab roll is going to be deep fried in a very hot oil. I put mine at 375. You can
Deep fry until crispy, but still light in color.
While the crab roll fry, we are going to do the salad to accompany it. So julienne of carrot, seasoned with carrot juice vinaigrette.
In addition to the reduced carrot essence, the vinaigrette contains fish sauce and an oriental chili garlic sauce.
And the decoration on the plate, it's like some beet oil made by the reduction of the beet juice and olive oil. Little bit of parsley essence. Little bit of carrot vinaigrette. That. Carrot. When the crab roll is crispy, we're going to slice it. And serve it like that. A little leaf of parsley for the decoration. And that's it. Crab roll.
Ann Kearney was born in Ohio and graduated from the Cincinnati Culinary Academy. She came to New Orleans to work with the late John Neal at both the Maison de Ville and Peristyle. Now chef owner of Peristyle, she is making waves with dishes like seared squab and dirty rice dressing.
We're doing a little pan-roasted squab, which is a domesticated pigeon. They're farm-raised. They're fed whole grains, and so that they have a very pure meat. This is an all red meat bird. They're small. They're in between the size of a quail and a pheasant. And we're going to butcher it, take it off of its bone. This dish is going to be pan roasted and served with a rice dressing, which is my version of a Louisiana dirty rice. I found out that the Creole and Acadians don't like it when you call it dirty rice. That's the name the French gave it because it was brown. So we call it rice dressing here at Peristyle. We're just going to remove each half of the bird from the bone in a whole piece. We're going to reserve the bones, roast them in the oven. You can later use them for stock, chicken stock, or as part of your port reduction for your sauce. We remove the first 2 digits of the wing. And those also can go into the oven to be roasted for stock.
Now the chef deals with the gizzards and hearts.
First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our gizzards. We're just going to cut them up a little bit and add them to a saute pan with some seasoned stock. We have some garlic and bay leaf. You can go ahead and put some salt and some pepper in there. Whatever you poach these in, it's going to take the flavor on. You can use water if you don't have stock, but make sure you season it highly with some different aromatics. You can add black peppercorns or whatnot. I like to cut up the pieces a little bit smaller because these are tough organs and they need a little bit of cooking time to tenderize. So we add just a little bit of salt, some pepper, and some poultry stock made from the bones.
Bring to a boil, then lower the heat and simmer until the organs are softened. Now the livers.
You want to clean off a little bit of the sinew and some of the veins from the livers. It's not that it will hurt you, but you'll get a much nicer product if you finish a finished product if you start off with these clean, just like you would if you were using chicken livers or duck livers. We season these with salt, pepper, and some cayenne. We want to make sure that they're extremely dry. These will pop. The grease, the oil that you're searing them in will pop, and it can be a dangerous event. Around the kitchen when we make this at Peristyle, everyone's on guard. It's essential that you get a nice sear on your livers. Again, being very careful. Like I said, it will cause you trauma in your life. I don't cook mine completely through. I cook them to about medium. Carryover cooking will take care of taking the rest of the way. You don't want to overcook them because they will get very grainy.
Turn the livers once.
You can go ahead and leave all the fond in the bottom of the pan and the excess fat. I'm going to add some finely minced celery and onions. And as these cook, you want to get the fond off the bottom of the pan. That's pure flavor right there. It's also got some of the spices left from the liver.
After these have softened, chopped garlic is added and the pan is deglazed with brandy. First, the vegetables are seasoned with salt, pepper, and cayenne pepper.
Pull your pan away from the open flame and add some brandy, as much as you'd like. It will flame up if it wants to. Allow the alcohol to cook off. When your vegetables are tender, go ahead and add it to your seared livers.
The gizzards, hearts, and garlic cloves are added, and the mixture is then processed.
You're going to puree this to a fine paste.
This is the liver base for the dirty rice. Now the squab is seared.
Skin side down first. You want to get a nice seared, caramelized crust on your skin. Crispier the better. Again, watch for popping. These squab will get you if you're not careful. Meanwhile, we're going to get our little port reduction started in the back, which will be the sauce for our dish. You take a port wine, reduce it down with shallots and thyme until it's almost dry, till sec. You'll add a half and half chicken stock or poultry stock and half demi-glace. And you can bring that down as thick as you want. It's nice if you get a nice glaze on the squab as the finished product.
The squab are turned, quickly seared, then removed to another pan and roasted in a 400-degree oven for 4 to 5 minutes. The grease is removed, then the same pan is deglazed with the gizzard poaching liquid.
It's pure flavor right there. Add your liver base. Add your basmati pilaf. You want your rice to be already cooked. It's very important. The starches from the rice are going to help tighten this dish up. This is the point where you add a ton of green onions, some chopped parsley. Really helps balance the flavor, that nice fresh green onion flavor. I guarantee you your guests will have a hard time guessing what's in there. It just tastes so good they won't even know they're eating livers, hearts, and gizzards. To finish with just a little bit of butter. Rounds the dish out, gives it a nice glossy look.
The port wine sauce is enriched with rendered foie gras fat.
We're going to stratify the liquid fat into your demi-glace sauce. Again, it's going to add a nice sheen to it and really bump that flavor up.
Along with the rice, blanched and sautéed green beans and carrots are served.
And our port reduction goes over the top. There we have it. Oh.
Le Titi de Paris is one of Chicagoland's great French restaurants. Michael Maddox is chef de cuisine under owner Pierre Paulin. An Illinois native, he attended Kendall College, then worked in Florida and Chicago. He studied with Jacques Torres, who may have inspired almond cookies and passion fruit custard. The passion fruit custard calls for both puree and passion fruit pulp. The mixture will be brought to a boil.
Bring that to a boil.
Meanwhile, 2 eggs are combined with 4 ounces of sugar.
It's real similar to a creme anglaise, but you use the puree as your milk. Get it to a boil and temper it into the bowl. Make sure you clean the sides, all the sugar and the eggs off. And turn it back to the stove. You're gonna bring it back to a boil.
The custard was cooked and stirred constantly, then strained over an ice bath. Then a hydrated gelatin leaf is added.
And while it's still hot, I'm gonna add the bloom gelatin. Take out the cold water, rinse it, and add that to it so it melts in.
Granulated, unflavored gelatin can be substituted.
The whipped cream I've already whipped. I'm just gonna cool down the passion fruit mixture here, and then I'll fold in the whipped cream.
The cream is added in 2 batches.
Just incorporate about halfway. And just finish folding it in. You don't want to whisk it, you just want to fold it gently. Just incorporate it real light.
Refrigerate until service. Meanwhile, the cookies are started with orange zest, which will be added to the dry ingredients, flour and powdered sugar.
Nice and fine. Extract all the flavor by cutting.
Then fresh orange juice.
The almonds, rather than just using sliced blanched almonds, I did that, but I also toasted them off, give a little more flavor to it. And you can put them in a Roboku to crumble them up, but you don't want them real fine. Just a couple of seconds in the Roboku is all you're going to really need, or a food processor. I just do them by hand. Put them in a plastic bag and just smash it up a little bit. And the melted butter I need. And the melted butter. And a little bit of Grand Marnier. Give a nice little more orange flavor. And as this cooks, it's going to spread out a lot. So you don't want them too close together. So 6 to 8 per sheet pan. And I'm really about making a perfect circle because I'm going to cut them when they're still warm out of the oven.
The cookies are formed on a silicone sheet and are baked at 350 degrees until golden brown. If you try this dish, you'll have to visit the hardware store and the grocery store. The chef uses a paint sprayer, a butane torch, and drill bits for the spun sugar.
It's half chocolate, half cocoa butter. And the fat gives a nice little design to it. And take your fork off. Get a nice little design for our plate.
Banana slices are sprinkled with sugar and caramelized with a torch.
For the spun sugar, it's using half fondant, or like icing like for Danishes, and half glucose, similar to corn syrup. Put them together, bring it to about 150 degrees, and it's like a comb, which we use, you use the whisk or not nails in it. Make sure it's really hot. And I have 2 poles that have been sprayed with a non-stick spray. You make sure it's really hot, and it's a back and forth sweeping motion.
If not done correctly, you could have the sweetest floor in town. The first layer of a Napoleon is the passion fruit custard and banana slices.
We're also going to do a little bit of spun sugar on top of it when we're all done.
Note the presentation includes a cornucopia made from the warm cookies and filled with the custard. Then a flower, outlined in chocolate, is filled in with creme anglaise and fruit purees.
Welcome to Great Chefs, a culinary tour of the United States featuring some of the country's finest chefs.
Today, the appetizer comes from Atlanta and Chef Gunter Seeger. It's a lamb roll stuffed with a ground lamb mixture and presented on slices of zucchini and eggplant. From the great Italian restaurant Spiaggia in Chicago, Chef Paul Bartolotta prepares a small plate light dining entree, poached langoustines in tomato and orange sauce. Dessert comes from the Peabody Hotel in Orlando, Florida. Executive pastry chef Gerard Partunes presents white chocolate mousse studded with white chocolate fans. At taping time, German-born Gunter Seeger was executive chef for the dining room at the Ritz-Carlton Buckhead in Atlanta. He has since opened his own namesake operation in the Buckhead area. The appetizer is lamb roulade on zucchini and eggplant carpaccio. Note that he makes the roll from thin slices. The farce, or stuffing, contains diced bell pepper sautéed in a little olive oil. Also, cubes of brioche, which were browned in the oven.
For the lamb farce, I have some lamb shoulders, and it's cut in pieces. To make the farce, you always want to have your meat stay very cold, and when you make your farce, you want to have the farce being very cold. So I put the bowl on ice.
Season the ground meat with salt and pepper.
And mixed really good. You always stay, while you're making the farce, you always stay on the ice. Now we're adding some cream. Mixing it again. Now we have some thyme here, very finely chopped.
Other aromatics include chopped parsley and chopped garlic.
Some chive. The sauteed peppers. And the brioche. And that gets mixed again. The brioche will soak all that cream off.
Adjusting the consistency with a little more cream, the mixture is completed and chilled. Meanwhile, the chef fashions the roulade with a lamb loin. He cuts almost paper-thin slices lengthwise and overlaps them on a piece of plastic wrap.
And you overlap it a little bit.
Season with salt and pepper and add the farce.
And the mousse goes inside. Then we roll. We lap this whole thing over like that. One more time. And then you fold the whole plastic. Tighten it up. And then we tie it up.
The roll is chilled for about an hour, then similarly rolled in overlapping bacon slices.
And then we roll the whole roulade in this bacon. And then that goes on the plastic again. And we tie this up again. The same way than we did the roulade before.
Chill this for at least 2 hours. Thin slices of zucchini and eggplant are cut using a mandolin.
And the eggplant, same thing.
The eggplant and zucchini are lightly sautéed separately in olive oil. They should not be browned. Then, in a clever adaptation of the Italian appetizer using shaved beef, carpaccio, the slices are arranged on a plate coated with olive oil.
And we garnish the plate. We overlap one zucchini, one eggplant, then we have some tomato concasse. Those tomatoes are peeled and put in boiling water for 10 seconds and de-seeded and cut in brunoise.
The carpaccio will be run under a salamander or broiler just before presentation. Now a medallion is cut from the roulade.
Cutting a nice piece, like a medallion, with the plastic. The plastic always stays on. And then we take that plastic off.
Sauté in hot olive oil.
This medallion can be cooked like a regular lamb. It doesn't need to be cooked all the way through because we're using the lamb loin.
The carpaccio is removed from the salamander.
We give him very nice color. And then get the grease off a little bit on paper towel. That goes in the middle of the plate.
A chiffonade of basil will garnish.
And then we garnish with all the basil. And you sprinkle, again, very good olive oil. You need a very good olive oil. This makes all the flavor here in the world for this dish. You put that over it.
Executive chef and partner at Spiaggia is Paul Bartolotta. In 1997, this Milwaukee native received an award from the President of Italy, honoring his culinary achievements and calling him a goodwill ambassador for all things Italian. His entree is a light rendition of langoustines in tomato and orange sauce.
Scampi confonduto di pomodoro, arancia, e menta. And what it means is chilled tomato, orange, and mint sauce that is served with warm poached langostinos. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to clean one of these so you get an idea how you might clean it. You pull the bottom part off. Okay? And then you will crack them a little bit this way. All right? And then you just peel them open just a little bit. Make sure you broke through. And then you just peel the shell off this way. And then this piece of shell here too as well. Okay? And then at the very bottom you just sort of hold, and you also will get any of the inside to come and peel out at the same time. Okay? And then what we'll do is we'll trim it up a little bit. If there's any parts that's not so beautiful, we're going to trim that. We're going to trim this a little bit. Okay? And this is the clean langostino. And as you can see, I have those already prepared for you. Okay, so we'll put that together with this one. Okay, in addition, I have some tomatoes that I simply scored at the top and cut the bottom off. I blanched it in very, very hot boiling water, and then I shocked it immediately after. It was only in the water a few seconds, in ice water, and that allowed the skin to peel off very easily. So I have some peeled tomatoes that for this particular dish, your enemy will always be excessive liquid. So we're going to take and cut this a little bit. And we're just going to take this off. This particular dish is a dish that can be done only when you have good tomatoes. If you don't have a good tomato, don't even bother. And right now we have some nice plum tomatoes that are nice and ripe, so all I want is the supreme part. And then, when we get done with this, I will show you the garnish that we do with this. We make little diamonds here by cutting it, and then cutting it at an angle. And this is about the size diamond that we want to use. Okay. And then we have an orange that we peel to make segments. And what we do is we peel very carefully. We cut either side of the orange off, peel it down real nice and smooth so we retain its shape, and then basically make some nice segments out of the orange. And this is going to be used for both making the sauce and also for the garnish. So the dish will be prepared this way. We're going to take a pot and we're going to warm up a Ligurian olive oil in here. So you want an olive oil that's very, very light. You don't want anything that's too strong. And I'm going to put in here a few mint bouquets. And I leave the stem on because it's not going to cook very long. So we're just going to make it just a little bit warm. We do not want to make it extremely hot. We just want to cook it long enough so we extract the flavor of the mint into the oil. And we flavor the oil just a little bit. Okay, so to this I'm going to add some of the tomato segments here. So the tomato supreme to the dish. And then again, some of the orange. And once again, I re-emphasize that liquid is your enemy, so you want to keep this a real nice dry compote.
Salt is added.
Not a lot, just a little bit. And while we're at it, for poaching the langostinos, we're going to put some salt in the water for these as well. Okay. So these are our langostinos. Okay. So we're just going to cook this very, very slowly. We want to make a little bit of a pulp. You can already smell the flavor of the mint coming out. And we just want to cook this very, very slowly. It's not a long cooking process. It's basically to make everything nice and warm and so that all the flavors blend together. It's essentially a cold dish. So we don't want to give the impression that it is a cooked tomato sauce or that it takes on the flavor of a cooked orange. We want to leave it nice and light and nice and fresh.
The mixture is chilled over an ice bath, then processed. Garnish includes a chiffonade of mint with pieces of tomato and orange warmed through.
Okay.
The mint was removed before the hand processor is used. Strain the sauce before presentation.
We're going to now warm up this a little bit and poach a few of our langostinos in boiling water. And I just curl them over so they retain a nice curled shape. We'll do just, say, one extra.
The compote is placed on the chilled sauce.
We're going to garnish this with a nice mint bouquet. Okay, and then just a drizzle of the oil just right here on top.
After his apprenticeship, Gerard Partunes worked in his native Belgium, then came to America, first working at the fancy Ritz-Carlton Monolani in Hawaii, then at the pastry stations of hotels in Arizona. His dessert features white chocolate mousse. Notice the dramatic method for saucing the plate. White chocolate ganache is started with hot cream and honey.
The honey will make the ganache a little bit more pliable and also serves as a sweetener. The white chocolate I'm using is it's a European chocolate, which is called couverture. The difference between that, this has a very high coconut butter, cocoa butter fats content.
The mixture goes over heat and is stirred until the chocolate melts. Then it's refrigerated for 4 hours. After it's chilled, the ganache is combined with heavy cream in an electric mixer.
This will go extremely quick. It's a very fatty mixture. There's very much coconut fat, butter.
The mousse will be piped onto rounds of almond sponge cake. They'll be soaked in orange-flavored simple syrup.
Liquor. We can use a syrup, which is made with water and sugar, and adds basically any liqueur you would like to, but I recently used now a nice orange liqueur. The top of the cake here is a little bit more crusty, so I'm going to use the bottom of the cake. It will absorb more of the liqueur or the syrup. Raspberry liqueur would be very delicious too.
The mousse is piped onto the cake round. Melted chocolate is also used to fashion fans that will garnish the mousse. First, the chef tempers the chocolate.
What I'm going to do now is incorporate cold air into the chocolate while it cools down on the marble or the slate, and mix the sugar crystals together. Okay. Next, after we temper the chocolate, we're going to add a little bit of salad oil. This is a very small percentage, maybe about, for this amount, maybe a quarter of a cup. What this will do, will make the chocolate more pliable, because it is ultimately made out of cocoa butter, and the cocoa butter will make it harder. It's a hardening agent. The salad oil will make it more pliable. So, make sure it's very nicely incorporated.
Then the fans are made by spreading the chocolate onto a chilled surface and immediately shaping. Using various colored sauces, the chef demonstrates an interesting approach to decorating a plate. He hand cranks this whirligig.
There we go.
The final garnishes include sprinkled cocoa powder and fresh berries.